Bullying, what is it?
Well, most people know what bullying is. I mean, it's repeated aggressive behavior. You know, not just one time is bullying, but if you're getting it over and over again, that can be social abuse, it can be verbal abuse, it can be physical abuse, it can be social isolation. There are lots of things that constitute bullying that happens, unfortunately, quite a lot with school-age kids and adults as well.
And it happens in the school as well as information now online?
Oh, yeah, and probably more likely to happen at school and out with peers, but there's a lot of cyberbullying going on out there as well. It's not just predators that are online, but it's other kids who are saying bad things about other kids, making fun, spreading rumors, things like that, which causes kids to feel quite bullied.
Well, how do I know if my child is being bullied? What are some things I should watch for?
Well, it's similar to what Dr. Monahan was saying in the last segment about, you know, you see changes in grade, changes in attitude. An otherwise socially active kids become more quiet and isolated. You see them, you might see signs of actual physical signs, you know, bruises and things like that. They hang out with different people. They make excuses to stay home more. Grades go down, stuff like that.
So if you're concerned your child's bullying, what do you do? Being
bullied, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's communication with the kids very important. You know, Dr. Monahan talked about how what I call the inoculation theory. You can't just say it one time and expect your kids to learn what you need them to learn. You need to talk to them fairly repeatedly about things like we're talking about tonight, even bullying, to say, here's what you need to do. You need to be willing to talk to me. You need to be willing to talk to authorities. You know, kids can be pretty ashamed about going to somebody and admitting that they've been hurt or they're being bullied. They can be teased or tattletale. You know, they don't want to be that kid. And yet it sort of drives them more and more in isolation. So they need to learn to communicate and feel safe in doing so with adults and other authority figures.
You, Dr. Monahan, and yourself keep bringing up communication. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal in everything. I mean, it's not the solution to problems, but it's the means to the solution to many problems we have, whether it be with our kids or with our marriages or in our workplaces. The ability to speak honestly and to feel safe doing so.
Well, you mentioned a little bit of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big deal at school also.
Yeah, well, there's a certain point of development with kids that the peers become really more important to them. The opinions of peers, the attitudes of peers are more important to our children, unfortunately, than us. They care a lot more what their buds and people they want to be their buds think than sometimes even what their parents think.
And that peer pressure can create stress on a child.
Yeah, it's a lot to live up to because, you know, then you have power. You know, if I'm one kid wanting power over another kid, then I can sort of withhold my approval. I can withhold letting them be in the group that I'm involved with, you know, somehow being nice to them. You have a lot of power on how kids feel. And unfortunately, some kids who are not very healthy feel that need to exert that power over other kids. So the bullies are not very healthy either.
So how do I tell my kid not to worry about bullying or not to worry about peer pressure, or what do I do?
Well, you can spit in the wind all you want to. They're going to care about bullying and they're going to care about peer pressure, but you can just continue to reiterate that they need to respond to that. And sometimes it's up to the parent. You know, you see all these signs and maybe you need to look a little further into their social media. Maybe you need to look into the further, maybe speak to their teacher or people at school to say, you know, I'm worried about what's going on with my kids and he's not saying anything to me or she's not saying anything to me, but I'm growing concerned, and get a team of people kind of paying attention.
Again, it comes back to communication and not to ignore something you may be concerned about.
Yeah, we can't, and parents are pretty good about this, but generally you can't afford to hope that something's not true. If you fear it kind of deeply in your gut, and that fear is sustained for a while, it probably bears looking into. You know, sometimes parents will react, and there's no question about that. But there's also that sort of hoping that it's not true, so I'm going to look the other way syndrome.
Just keep communication, keep looking.
Always.